What if one platform covered everything from idea to market-ready product? A platform teaching all the AI tech and practices needed for successful AI-driven startups.
This is like AI imagination.
We found that the more specific we are,
we used a classifier, we trained the classifier.
I really wanted it to just be more open-ended for the user.
We were experimenting with different chunk sizes,
having some problems to something.
By blending cutting-edge technologies from industry giants, you can create revolutionary AI products that drive innovation forward.
This was a special hack, it was a battle.
Let the hacking begin!
Hi everyone, let's get ready for our last workshop for today. I would like to introduce Sujay Maniam, AI engineer and developer advocate at Node51, who is going to give you the workshop called Preparing Data for Applications with DocLink and Data Prep Kit. Welcome, Sujay. The stage is yours.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Welcome. So very quickly, my name is Suji Maniam. I work as a AI engineer and DevRel engineer. By the way, if you can see my screen here, you can take a screenshot or take a picture. This one has links to the workshop I'm going to be running. So I'll give you a few seconds to maybe take a screenshot. But remember, don't worry, all this will be posted as well, right? So what I am going to talk about in this workshop is whenever you are doing any LLM or AI application, you are dealing with data. How do you prepare data? How do you shape the data? How do you prepare the data for your LLM application? So I'm going to show you a couple of toolkits and also going to walk you through a demo. Okay? All right. So hopefully you can take a picture of this. Here, that's me. My background is AI, data engineering, also big data and cloud. These days, I work mostly on Gen AI stuff. So if you have any questions, comments, here's my email. You're welcome to send me an email. I always, I try to reply back. So, all right, guys. So let's talk about the toolkit I was going to talk about. So like we mentioned, whenever you're dealing with machine learning applications, especially LLM applications, you're dealing with lots of data. Your data could be like documents, like PDF, Word documents, HTML, or even code, right? And whatever application you're using, whether it's RAG or like fine tuning, you have to basically work with data. So for example, let's say you are working with documents. What are some of the steps you have to do? For example, maybe you want to have your duplicate documents. You want to deduplicate the documents. And maybe you have lots of with different types like PDFs, Word, right? And you want to extract them into a format that your LLM can understand, maybe text, right? And for example, let's say your documents have some personal data, like somebody's credit card numbers on there or a phone number on there. Maybe you want to remove those, right? So these are some of the common tasks that you would do when cleaning documents. What about code, right? Let's say your input is code. So then, you need to figure out, again, what's the language? Is it Java, C++, right, Python? And also, for example, if you're using like open source, like openly available code, you have no idea what the quality of the code is, right? What if the code has some bad code in it, right? And you want to clean it out. So things like this, right? So very rarely we can take the raw data and feed it to the LLMs. We need to do some cleanup. And let's be honest, right? I mean, nobody enjoys data cleanup. I don't. I'm sure most of you don't. But we do it because we have to, right? Because the quality of the data determines the quality of the output, right? So we need to make sure we have good data. So the idea is rather than doing this on your own, there are a lot of tools out there, and I'm going to talk about one today, which is basically Data Prep Kit, right? So it's an open source toolkit that actually is designed to handle all your data cleansing and preparation work. So the best way I think about Data Prep Kit is like a Swiss Army knife. All right, so it has all these little gadgets built in, and it's very handy. Right, so that's that's how I like to think about Data Prep Kit. So the like I said, it's open source. It's Python, right? So you can get started very quickly, and also it can do both documents and code. So whatever your input is, are you processing documents or code? Either way, the kit can handle it. Yeah. And here's like a little, some of the features. Again, I'll go over some of these features in the next few minutes. So, your input can be, documents or code. And we can do things like, for example, right, we can assess code quality. For example, we can, deduplicate your data, right? So we have duplicate documents, we can filter them out, things like this. So there are a lot of features already built in. I'm going to show you some of the features and also give you a demo. Yeah. So a lot of the time when we deal with data, I always get a question, but can it handle large scale, like large amount of data? And answer is yes, right? So if you have like a small amount of data, like we've got a few thousand documents, you can run this on your laptop. Remember, it's just Python code, right? And it works fine. But what if you have like 100,000, maybe a few million documents? Maybe your laptop is right, not going to work. So then what you can do is you can run the exact same code on a cluster. Right now, the prep kit supports two clusters. One is Ray, right? Ray is a Python framework that lets you run Python code at scale and as a cluster, and also Spark. Spark is another distributed computing framework that'll take your code and run on multiple machines, right? So you can start on your laptop and then basically scale up if you want. By the way, this prep kit is actually used to prepare data for some of the foundation models IBM released. So they are called the model is called Granite. You can look it up. It's open source model. So the data that's prepared for Granite is actually prepared by PrepKit, right? So you can imagine that's terabytes and terabytes of data. So yeah, so this is a very proven toolkit at scale. So here are some of the features. I'll zip through them pretty quickly. I also want to get to the actual workshop part of this. Right, so I'll go through this pretty quickly. So the first feature is basically processing documents. Right? So as we talked about, maybe your input comes from a bunch of PDFs, bunch of Word documents, whatever you have, right? There are a lot of document formats. So the first thing I want to do is I want to extract the text from whatever format I have into just plain text. Because plain text is for me easy to deal with, right? And then I can feed the data to LLM and so on and so forth. So that's the first thing I want to do. And for this, we actually use another open source toolkit called Docling, right? And so Docling is basically a document processor, right? That's a one-liner. It can pretty much understand any popular format. You can read PDFs, HTML, Word documents, right? Excel documents, and you can convert them into like a simple text or JSON, however you guys want. It's pretty cool actually because it actually understands like it can even, let's say you have tables on your PDF, it can extract table data. If you have images embedded, you can also extract the images, right? Also, if you have some, let's say you scan some PDF, it has some handwritten notes, you can even read the handwritten notes and convert them to text. So they use like an OCR, right? I mean, if your handwriting is like mine, which is completely legible, maybe it'll struggle a little bit, but it can pretty much figure out most of the handwritten notes that and convert them to just text, which is really great, right? Because if you think about this, anyone who has processing large amount of data, you may have some documents that are maybe like there's some notes on the margin, right? Things like this, and you want to capture those. How easy it is to use? Super easy, right? Here I'm showing you like 3 lines here. You can see, right? Pip install Docling, right? Like I said, it's a Python package. And then simply then I'm saying Docling, let's say I have a PDF file. Let's say I want to produce a markdown text out of it. So all I'm saying is, okay, look, read this PDF file, extract the data, and dump it out as markdown. That's it. One line. If you want to change it to JSON, right? Change it to JSON. So that's all it takes, right? Very, very easy to use. And it's also an open source project. You can check it out. It's a very popular project. Yeah. So we use Docling. So the data prep kit actually uses Docling to extract data. So that's one of the core libraries we use. And when I'm extracting the data, it also does things like removing markups. So let's say your PDF has like, I was on color coding, things like this. I don't really need all that, right? So basically, when we do the extraction, we can also remove the markups, right? So this is like basically 2-in-1. So what if I have some personal information, right? So let's say I'm processing some some healthcare data documents, and maybe there's like some social security number, and this is kind of a US centric, right? Or maybe somebody left their credit card number. We don't want to kind of send the data, right? So we actually want to do is like we want to scrub the data, and there's a module in the data prep kit that's actually called PII. You can say till to remove it, and it'll remove it for you. So it could be email addresses, phone numbers, credit card numbers, right? ID numbers, right? Whatever it can understand all of those. By the way, we actually use the procedure toolkit, which is actually open source, to do this. So we actually leverage a lot of other open source toolkits to do, right? Some of the work. And here's another one, right? I mean, this is very cool. Let's say I have different documents in different languages, and actually I want to tag them appropriately, right? Because depending on the language, I may want to process them differently. So here you see like English, Spanish, and Japanese. So the toolkit can actually has a feature that can actually tag these documents. So for example, maybe you just want to produce some process Spanish documents, right? So and then you can tag them first and extract them, right, based on the tag. And here we use FastText, again, another open source toolkit to, right? So we actually leverage a lot of the open source work that's already done, because there's no need to reinvent the work, right? So, and the same thing for code, excuse me. Same thing for code, right? So so before we just looked at languages, like spoken languages, you can do the same thing for code, right? So yeah, let's say you have a bunch of code that is how do you say multiple languages. You can actually tag them with the right language. Pretty cool. So, and talking about code, what if your code, let's say I'm just downloading some code off the internet trying to train. What if there's like some virus, some malware, right? You can actually also tag that. So for example, if your code has some bad code, you can actually flag it. Here we use ClamAV as a right to do, because ClamAV is an open source virus detector, and then it's pretty good. So we use that. Anyway, so as you can see, there are a lot of features built in. And when there are open source tools to do the work, we actually use them. Otherwise, we'll write the write the functionality ourselves. Yeah. So what I want to do, right? And since this is a kind of workshop, and I'm pretty sure you guys want to try this out, we actually have a hands-on section here. Let me pull. So this is what I'm going to demonstrate. So let's say I have a bunch of documents. I have a bunch of PDF documents. Let's say I want to extract them and get them ready for my LLM application. So that's a use case I'm going to demonstrate. And you can also run the code alongside with me. Don't worry, there's no need to set up your laptop or anything. We simply run. We can run on Google Colab if you're using that. It's very easy, right? Or if you have, if you have a Jupyter environment on your laptop, just download it and right, and run it. So here's kind of the workflow again. It looks kind of complicated, but it's not. I'll walk you through every step. But what I want to do, let me put this up for a second. If you want to come to this URL, this is a Git repo with instructions to run the code. So maybe you just want to take a note of this, take a picture, right? Or you can just type it in. It's been a bit.ly dpk-workshop 2, right? So that's a URL. I will leave this up for a second. So go ahead and click on the URL, or you can just type it in as well. Yeah. Let me make sure. Yep. And then everything we need, let me actually show you what we have here. All right. So if you guys go to the URL, it'll take you to a GitHub page. Basically, this is the only link you guys need. Right? Everything you need is right here. So all the links, all the link to the code and the presentation, everything is right here. Let me see if I can see the chat window. Okay. Yeah. So it's basically bit.ly dpk workshop, right? So that's it. And if you scroll down a bit, I have instruction on how you set up your laptop. But just to be clear, we don't need to set up your laptop right now. We are going to run this using Google Colab, right? The single click run just runs without any setup. By the way, if you need any support, we actually have a Discord server set up for you guys. So please join our channel, and if you're welcome to ask us questions, give us feedback, right? So yeah, so we actually want you to just be there to support you guys. So there's Discord, right? So please join in. And here's the main repo, and then also I have some example repo. And here's what I'm going to do for the workshop. I'm going to do like section 1. And remember the presentation I was showing you? This is the link for it right here, right? So you can download it if you like. And then here's the code. And for the code, here's what I'm going to recommend to you guys. You can simply run this on Google Colab, right? If you have a Google account. So usually what I do is, I just, see the link right here, what I'm pointing at. Right click and simply say open a new tab. That's it. All right. And it'll basically open this in Google Colab here, like here. Right. I'm going to give you guys a minute to kind of to navigate to this. If again, you can look at my screen. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to kind of run this along yourself, you can run this alongside with me. Right. Again, very simple. So what did I do here? Come to this page. Right. Billy DBK workshop 2. Yeah. And then right. So scroll down a bit. If you want to take a picture of this, go ahead. And so this is my GitHub repo right here. And then scroll down a bit all the way, and you'll see workshop. We're going to do like section 1. And here's the code. Right, we're going to simply right click here and then say open new. That's it. Yeah. And once you open this, right, just to sort of save some time, I'm going to have you just go and run this, right? So you simply say runtime and run all. Because the first time you run this, it needs to download some models and things like this, right? So it'll take some time. So let's just start the run. So as we go through, right, we can look at the output and understand what's going on, right? So if your notebook is up, just say runtime, run all, and you should be good. Just let it run, right? It'll take a few minutes when you run for the first time, like I said, because you need to download and install libraries, download some models, things like that. Any questions so far, guys? I want to make sure how's everyone doing so far. Let me take a minute. Check. Yeah. All right. Okay. So I want to walk you through step by step on what we are doing here. Right. So again, like I said, right. So start the run. Okay. So let's start with the very first step. My very first step is I want to extract documents. Right. Sorry, extract text data from documents. Right. I have a bunch of PDFs. Right. And I want to start the text. Okay. So let me walk you through, how it works. Like again, we are going to use docking as our toolkit to do the work. Yeah. So let me actually go back here, go back to the documentation. Go back to the code. So let me explain a few things just so you guys understand what's going on, right? So the same diagram is here, and these are the steps we are using. But let me explain what they are. So step 1.1, if you look at this, let's see, a little larger. Yeah, maybe this is better. Yeah. So here you will see I'm doing a quick check to see if I'm running on Google Colab, right? I am, because if I'm running on Colab, I have to do things a slightly different way. And so this, just determining if I'm running or not, right, is helpful. And here's another reason, right? So for example, if I'm running on Colab, I need to install the libraries, right? Because if we're running locally, we don't have to do it, because in the locally, we will set up the environment. So we don't have to do this every single time. But remember, in Google Colab, when you open it up, every notebook gets like a sandbox, like a unique environment. So you have to install the libraries, right? So yeah, so that's what we are using. And you see, I'm checking to see if only do this if I'm running, right? Because I don't want to install on my machine all the time, right? There's no need. Anyway, so this is done. So as you can see, this step might take you a little longer. So mine took like 3 minutes, right? Because there's a lot of things it downloads and installs. And you can see, right, I'm basically installing the 1.0 version of the data prep toolkit. That's it. Yeah. And sometimes they will ask to restart runtime. you can either restart or just keep going, right? Doesn't matter, right? Yeah, so that's fine. All right, so let's go to step 2. So again, step 2, I'm setting up some input-output directory. So I'm reading from this input directory, and my final output is going to go to the output directory. But remember, if you remember, we are doing like a pipeline, right? So it's some multiple stages in the pipeline. So what happens is this is coming from input. So my stage 1 is going to extract the data and it's going to produce some data. And then this data becomes input to the next stage, right? So you can imagine like stage by stage by stage, one stage output is the next stage's input, right? So we can go through like almost like 6 steps, right, to complete this pipeline, right? So and that's all what I'm setting up here. So if you look at the step 2.2, right, all I'm doing is right now I'm just setting up the output directory. So first, I'm extracting text out, right? Step 2, step 3, and so on and so forth. So always remember there's a pipeline, right? Anyway, yeah. So that's it. And 2.3 I have some handy functions just to I'm going to use. So one is like reading Parquet file, other one is downloading files, right? Things like this. All right, so here's the data. So let me show you step 3. So I actually have very simple PDF documents. The reason I created this PDF documents is we can actually understand what the workflow is. So I don't want this to be very complex documents, right? For the demo purposes, I just created these simple documents. So we can actually see step by step what's happening. So I have like, right, you can read this, right? Earth.pdf, right? Mars.pdf, just these are like 1-page documents with some basic facts. Also, I created some duplicate data right? Because I'm going to show you how to remove duplicates. So this is an exact duplicate. I just made a copy of the file. And here's another one called, another duplicate. This is almost similar. And if you read the PDF, you will see there's like only like, I think 1 line or 1 word that's different, right? So 1 word difference. So why is this important? Because remember, when you have documents, so imagine this, right? So let's say you may have documents that are not exactly identical, but pretty similar. For example, let's say I open a Word document. I hit enter a couple of times. So that basically gave me 2 new blank lines, right? So the original document and this document, right? They're not exactly the same because why the new one has extra blank lines, but but at the same time, it has no new content, right? So for us, they're the same document. Even though if you compare byte by byte, they're not the same, right? So I want to demonstrate how you can process them too, right, and eliminate them. So that's why I created this document. So only difference between this and this is just 1 word different, right? I'll show you how to eliminate that. And I have a spam, which is spam content, and also I have another document that just have lorem ipsum. Remember, like if you're doing like graphical work, whatever, lorem ipsum is like placeholder text. And if you have documents with lorem ipsum, and that's all it has, right? I don't want it, right? Because it really doesn't add any value. Anyway, so I'm going to show you how to eliminate this as well. So as you can see, we have a bunch of different documents. The real documents are earth.pdf and mars.pdf. The rest is going to be eliminated. Yeah. All right. So let me walk you through the data. So 3.1, right? We are just downloading the files, and you will see, right, the files are downloaded. Right. That's fine. Step 4 is where the work is starting. So first, what's the first step we are going to do here? We are going to extract text data from PDF. And again, like I said, we are going to use docling. Let me show you the code, right? 4.1 is where the code is. This is it, all right? And you see how easy it is. So I'm basically saying, look, I have a bunch of files in this input directory. I want you to produce the output in the output directory. And I'm saying only process PDF files. Because if you have like a mix of files, let's say I have PDFs, HTMLs, Word, whatever, right? I only want to focus on PDF. So you can restrict what files you want to use, saying only use PDF files. Then I'm saying, extract the text in Markdown format. You can extract in Markdown, JSON, right? So I'm just saying, just do Markdown. Yeah, that's it. I'm letting it run, right? And if you see the run output, you may have seen, right, these progress bars. So what's happening is, remember, we are using docling internally. So docling actually uses natural language models to read PDF, which is pretty cool. So actually downloading these model files on the fly and to run them. Yeah. So that's why the first time you run this, it seems a little slow, right? Because they're downloaded a lot of these model files and things like this. but it's all automatic, right? You don't have to do anything. Just let's say run, and if you don't have it locally, they will download it for you. Pretty cool, right? So that's it. So all we are doing at this step is processing a PDF. So what does it look like, right? So I'm just saying, show me the content, right? So it says, show me the content of the, this tab, and you can see each document, right? So I'm actually displaying like a table format. So earth2.pdf, you can see the contents displayed, right? So you can see it's a markdown text, right? Lorem ipsum, only text has lorem ipsum. Here's my spam, right? So every document has an entry, and you see the contents. And also you see the metadata, like, how many pages the document has. Does it have any tables? Things like this. And remember, like, none of our documents have any table data. Because like I said, I kept it simple. Yeah. I know, right? And also it'll create some hashes, right? Document hash and all that, right? So yeah, you can look at the metadata, but what's important is the content. So we extract the content out for each document, right? So let's print some data. So 4.3, I'm going to just print out the data, just putting it down. You can see, right? So here the Earth document. So all it is, you can see it's like a very simple one pager. That's it, right? And remember, it used to be a PDF, right? Now actually I have it as, right, as a markdown. That's it. Yeah. And here's my lorem ipsum. So that's a lorem ipsum tag. All right. Very good. So how are we doing so far, right? So we actually completed the first step, which is basically extracting text. So now I had, like I said, I started with a bunch of PDFs. So now I have a bunch of text data, which is markdown, which is text, right? The next step we are going to use is basically, remember, we are going to remove duplicates. And for those, what we need to do is we do a few steps. One of the prep step before, that is like a step computing document ID and hashes. So remember, we use hashing to identify similar documents, and which is a very effective mechanism. So next step, all it's going to do is going to compute some hash IDs. It's going to compute the hash for documents. Let me show you how how it is done, right? So if you look at step number 5 on our code, it's called document ID, like that's what it's called. Basically, right? All I'm saying is, I'm look at the input. The input is from where it was before, right? The text data we were extracted, that's my input now. And it's doing the next output. So remember the stage, right? Every stage is feeds to the next stage. So I'm saying, okay, look at the contents column. Remember, right? That's our column here that has actual data of each file. I'm saying, look at the contents column and compute the hash for this, right? And that's what we're going to see, because we need that to make sure, we can eliminate duplicate documents. All right. So that's all, right? So I'm saying, look at the content column, and then I'm saying, create the hash ID in this column and all that. Just letting it run, right? So after the run, you will see, right? You see how the output is transforming, right? It's going from 0, 1 text to 0 to doc ID. Yeah. And if you look at the output here, let me actually show you. If you scroll to the right, scroll to the right, they fit. See, document hash. So this is a new column, right? It was not there before, so now it's calculated, right? And also they're giving like an ID for each document. But you'll see, right? Remember, this hash is computed on the content itself. So what is the content? This is the actual file content. Yes, it's right here, right? So some of you may have noticed already, right? I have some, all the way here. There you go, right? See, my documents are computed, right? So, so now let's see if we can actually eliminate our duplicates. Because remember, we have a bunch of duplicates, right? What are my duplicates? I have 2 duplicates. These are identical. All right. So let me show you guys a little concept here first. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to eliminate the duplicate document. And this is very handy, because imagine you're processing like, let's say 10,000 documents. I don't know, maybe you have, out of 10,000, maybe you have 500 duplicates. We want to cut them out, because we don't want to carry duplicate into our LLM, right? So how do we do this? Very simple. So here's a kind of illustration. So imagine I have 4 documents, right? These are exactly the same document, A and A, right? So let's say imagine that it has text, exact identical text, right? Exact same duplicate. So after I run the dedupe, I'm only going to have one document. So you can see one A has disappeared. Right? Remember, there's the identical. So we're going to eliminate one of them. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. Right. So here, if you look at the right, if you look at the page, see I have a dedupe module. So I'm saying, hey, look at the hash. We just computed. Right. Again, I'm saying, right, this is a content column. This is the hash column I want you to look at. And then if anything has similar hash, remove it. Yeah. All right. So, and you will see, right, again, let it run, you produce all the output, yada, yada, yada. And if you look at the final output, there you go. Remember. So before we started, we had 6 documents. All right. After our dedupes run, we only have 5. So, right, 1 document has been filtered out. So if you look at this one, right, you will see, right. So remember we had earth and earth copy, right? Only one of them will be here. You see, right? So the earth.pdf is now gone. Earth.copy is here. There you go. Perfect. Right. So now imagine you got 10,000 documents. There were like 10 duplicates. 10 are gone. Right. Yeah. Pretty easy, right? And all I did was just one line of code. Right. Basically here. That's it. Right. All right. So duplicates are done. Now there's another cool thing. It's called fuzzy duplicate. So imagine this. Let me actually show you the concept first. Right. So let's say I have documents, say in this case, I have B and B dash. They're almost the same, not exactly the same, right? So if you look at the text, again, just an example, right? So let's say there's like a 1-word difference. So another example could be like, maybe you have a new line, right? Right? Let's say somebody opened a document, they hit enter a few times, they entered a bunch of new lines and then saved it. So there's no new content, just a bunch of blank lines. So for all my purposes, I want to remove them. So for this, I cannot use hash, right? Because the hash is only look at an exact document. Here we have something called fuzzy duplicate. So what fuzzy does, it looks at the hashes and tries to figure out, right, the distance. So the way I like to demonstrate this, let me actually show you guys this. Right. So I know everyone loves Legos. I use Legos quite a bit. Okay, so let's say you guys can hopefully see this. Yeah. So these are the 2 exact documents, right? Yellow and yellow, exactly the same size, right? So we eliminated 1. So I have this. But what if I have a yellow and a right, almost the same documents, maybe like there's a couple of extra blank lines or like 1 period or something, right? Right. And they're the same for me. So I want to eliminate one of them. So how do we do this? So we call fuzzy duplicates, right? So we are going to do fuzzy duplicate. Let me show you the code. At step 7, right? So again, example, right? So here's an example. Just let's say imagine there's 2 documents here, right? And if you read this, they are pretty much the same, except, right? Just 1-word difference. Yeah. And for me, I'm saying, what? Remove it. So fuzzy is actually a pretty cool feature. It takes a bunch of arguments, right? So don't let them intimidate you. They are well documented here in the documentation in the project page. But there's one thing I want to show you guys. It's called this one, the threshold. So threshold is where it's like a dial, right? So it's like in your stereo, it's a dial. Like let's say you're playing a music, you want more bass, right? So you dial it up or less, right? You dial it down. So the way you have to think about this is like, so imagine I have 2 documents, right? You're kind of controlling the distance. So if you're saying they're very close enough, right? Maybe they're duplicates. If they're kind of far enough, maybe they're not duplicates, right? So the threshold basically tells fuzzy duplicate to say how to find matches. If you crank it all the way higher, it'll become more strict. And what that means is like then less documents will qualify. If you crank it down, it's a little bit more lenient, right? So it'll try to match more documents. So again, at this point, people ask me, so what is the recommended setting? There's none. Right? So by default, we use 0.8 as the default setting, but it may or may not work for you. So that's why I'm actually saying, right, try this a few times, to change the number a few times and kind of see how it works on your documents, and then that's your value. So the value is between 0 and 1, right? So you can dial up and down, just do a couple of runs and see what are the documents is eliminating. And if it's, maybe it's eliminate too many documents, maybe you can dial it down, right? Things like that. So play with this a little bit, and you'll have this. Anyway, but it's pretty much a one-line code. It takes a bunch of arguments, but at the end of the day, it's just one line of code. You run this. So let's look at the output here. Right. So remember, before fuzzy, I had 5 documents. After fuzzy d2 brand, I have 4. So it actually eliminated 1. So if you remember, if you look at the output, remember, I had like Earth and Earth2. Remember, those are the pretty similar document. And you see here now, Earth2 is now disappeared. Right? So pretty cool. So remember, that's an almost same document. The conversation called it. Yeah. There you go. Right. So as you can see, right. So as you're working through the process, you can see what we are doing. Right. We are basically kind of right, cleaning up our documents. So we started with extracting text, then we compute the hashes. So first step I did was I eliminated exact duplicate. So you can see, right. So remember I had like 2 B's here. So 1 B is gone. Right. But now I have A and A dash. So they're not exactly the same, but almost the same. Then I run fuzzy dedupe, and it gets rid of one of the A dashes. All right. So now I have ABC. The last step I'm going to show you is something called document quality. So because if you have documents, you will have some documents maybe it's a spam. Let's say you are processing emails. You have a bunch of spam emails, right? So here's a free spam email. Maybe you have just a bunch of text that are placeholder text, no real value, like lorem ipsum. So there's a plugin here. It'll go through the document and it'll give you like a little score. And if it finds spam text, it'll mark it as spam. If it finds like a placeholder text like lorem ipsum, it'll find as lorem. And based on this output, then you can eliminate document that you don't need. So let me show you how this works, right? So this is the last step here. Step 8 is called document quality. Yeah. Again, like I said, all of these I provided a link to the documentation so you can check them out. But basically, right, all I'm saying is I'm saying doc quality, right? I'm saying look at the contents column because that's where my text is. And for me, I am actually focusing on the English language because I'm basically running metrics on English language. And you can supply other languages too, Spanish, right? Deutsch, right? So yeah, there are multiple languages supported. You can look at the documentation. So now when I run this, what happens? Let me show you the output real quick. So now what you will see, if you scroll to the right a little bit, you will see a lot of columns created that start with document Q. So these are the different metrics. So let me show you one real quick. Show you. Yeah. Where's this one? Oh yeah. So one of them is called right lorem ipsum ratio. So the thing is trying to see right if I have lorem ipsum text. And you can see there's one document that actually has lorem ipsum, right? Which is, my lorem text, right? So it actually figures it out. It's like, yeah, hey, this document has lorem ipsum text, yeah. And the others, they don't, right? That's where they're 0, meaning, there's no matches, right? Also, they are checking for bad words. So these are like spammy word, like, XXX, things like this, right? Which, you show already. And you can see one document is flagged as having a bad word. And you can see, right? That's my spam, right? You can see, free, so it matches the word XXX, right? So it's presently hey, yeah. And then if you look at this, you can actually supply your own document, own bad words, right? It has a built-in default bad words. You can check them out, or you can supply your own. So let's say, for example, you are doing a custom processing, and you have, right, certain documents, you actually certain words you want to avoid. Just apply them, and it'll filter them out. It'll use them, and it'll filter them out, and it'll give you the metric like this, right? So like this. It contains bad word, true, false, right? All that. And you can see there are a lot of other, right, metrics, you can, it's kind of figuring out like, curly brackets, right, bullet points, right? So if you're processing PowerPoint and you want to cut down, like, you want to eliminate documents with a lot of bullet points, there you go. There's a metric for that too. Anyway, right? If you want to. So I'm not saying you should, just it's there if you want, right? Anyway, so let's actually eliminate a couple of documents. So for me, I want to eliminate documents that contain any bad words. So I'm saying, you know what? I don't want any documents with bad words. So my qualifying filter is, the condition contain bad words should be false, right? Also, I don't want any lorem ipsum text, right? So I only want documents that test has a ratio of lorem ipsum to 0. That's it, right? Again, you can see those are numbers. You can adjust them, right? You can tweak them, right? It's very easy, right? And so after this, right, out of all this process, I'm ending up with 2 documents: master.pdf and earth copy, right? Because remember, earth was eliminated, so earth copy, same thing in the same document, right? So if you imagine, right, we started with what was 5 or 6 documents. I'm ending with 2 documents. And if you look at the workflow, right, kind of right. So we went through, like, we started a bunch of documents. We went through all the process, and then now we eliminate all of our, low quality documents like spam, lorem ipsum, things like this. So now my text is pretty clean, right? So pretty nice, right? So if you look at this, hopefully, so from the workflow, you can see it's a very powerful, right? Very powerful toolkit. So it has a lot of these features built in. I showed you a few. By the way, let me show you the final output, and then we'll wrap it up. So if you look at the final output, I'm saving it. Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, there you go. So if you click on the little file icon, you'll see like an output folder, and you can see, right, my text being processed like this, right? So every stage is producing output. So I can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let me look at the final output. And I'm saving them in Markdown format, right? And remember, only 2 documents made it. And this is just PDF document. I'm sorry, a Markdown document. You can open them up, right? Just plain Markdown, right? There you go. So these are extracted text from PDFs. Anyway, so hopefully, right, this gave you a sense of, what are some of the capabilities of the toolkit are, right? And like I said, to me, it's like if you're using machine learning application or LLM application, you need to deal with data, and hopefully this toolkit can actually save you a lot of work, right? And so I showed you a few features here, right? But it has a lot more features. Like, for example, let's say you want to remove hate speeches, right? Like if you're text, you want to remove hate speech, things like this. There's a plugin for that. Yeah. So yeah. So and pretty much every plugin, they are very easy to use. You can see like they're like one-liners to use, and they are very configurable and customizable. So you can adapt them to your needs. All right, guys. So let me wrap this up here. So final word, check this out. Like if you're doing a lot of data cleanup, and I'm sure most of you probably end up doing this. And I spent quite a bit of my time doing this. Don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? So use the toolkit. It'll save you a bunch of time, and then you can sort of focus on your next step, right? Actually, like maybe you are training your LLM, running machine learning, whatever, right? So yeah. So and it's open source Python, so you can get started very easily. And another thing I want to stress is like if you have any issues, right? There's a Discord server set up for us. Where was that? Yeah. So the link is right here. Right. By the way, you can take a picture of this, and then you can join Discord if you have any questions, comments. We'll support you. Right. So yeah. So that's it. So hopefully you guys found it interesting. Hopefully this may save you some work when you do your data preps. So that's all. That's all from this presentation. So let me maybe take a second to see if you have any questions. Go ahead. Any questions? Yeah.
There's no questions.
All right. Very good. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So
There's no questions.
Very good. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So
There's no questions.
Okay. All right, guys. There was a bit of an echo, but I think we're okay now. So thanks for being part of the presentation. I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, no. For you for this hackathon. Don't forget that you can rewatch all of them on our YouTube and Twitch channels. I hope that this was very useful for you, that you're going to use it in your projects. And yes, now is the time to get back to work, complete your projects, because the deadline for submissions is planned for 4 p.m. tomorrow. Good luck with your projects, and we see each other on the winner stream. Yes, thank you very much, Suji, again for your time and knowledge.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.